happening in Michigan that's illegal?
Well, I think if we're talking about the mail-in ballots, if people mail in ballots, there's a lot of illegality. They send in ballots that they harvest ballots. You know all about harvesting, and they do lots of bad things. Ideally, people go out and they vote. Now, if you need a mail-in ballot, if you need a specific, like as an example, I'm in the White House, and I have to send a ballot to Florida, that makes sense. So if you need it for some reason, or if somebody's not well, that's one thing. But when you send out 7.7 million mail-in ballots, there's forgeries, there's frankly duplication where they print ballots on the same kind of paper with the same kind of machinery and you can't tell the difference. And they send in thousands and thousands of fake ballots. And I tell you what, this nation can't be going down that path because it's a very dangerous path to go down. Now, we just won a big election. You probably heard about this one in California, California 25. Mike Garcia, he just won a very big election, and that was ballots. And it was a very sort of the opposite. They won the case for ballots. He was doing very well. Because they're ballots, you see he was way ahead. In an area that, frankly, was not expected to go Republican. First time in 22 years that it's happened. They flipped from Democrat to Republican. California, the first time in 22 years that it happened. And they actually put machines in there in the last 3 days because they thought, meaning the Democrats, because they thought that might happen, but it didn't. But that was a case, that was a positive case. But mail-in ballots are very dangerous. There's tremendous fraud involved and tremendous illegality.
But there are many Republicans, secretaries of state, that are also moving to mail-in ballots because of the pandemic and people are scared to go vote.
Well, we're going to see how it all works out, but they had 7.7 million applications sent out. They have, in the state of Nevada, they have a tremendous drive-in where you just mail in your ballots. You can't do that. You got to go and vote. People have to check you. They have to see that it's you. They're supposed to look at you and check you and make sure that, I mean, when you get thousands of ballots and they put them in a bag and they just bring them in and people start counting, who knows where they come from? It's so obvious. I mean, frankly, they should have voter ID. That's what they should have. You really want to know what the country wants. The country wants voter ID. Otherwise, it's going to be subject to tremendous illegality and fraud.
Mr. President, what fundings are you considering withdrawing from Michigan? From Michigan. He's threatened to keep funding away from the state of Michigan. Which funding?
Yeah, well, I have very specific funding. I just spoke with the governor. We didn't discuss that. We really discussed more the topic at hand plus the dams breaking. So we didn't, but we'll let you know if it's necessary. You'll be finding out. They'll be finding out very soon if it's necessary. I don't think it's going to be necessary because mail-in ballots are a very dangerous thing. They're subject to massive fraud. And by the way, I don't want to put anybody on the spot. If you have anything to say about it, Asa or Laura, but how can you do that? You have people signing ballots. Who knows who's signing these ballots? They have a ballot. They pick the ballot. They take them out of mailboxes. They go around and accumulate them. They harvest. I guess the word is harvest them. And it was especially prevalent in California, and it's just not a fair situation. Do you have any comment on that?
Well, I do. Of course, Arkansas supported a voter ID law.
Good.
But in terms of the election in November, there's a lot of discussion about how we can make the vote accessible if there is continued worry from a health standpoint. And we want to be able to use no excuse absentee voting as a way to do it, but it's still a person-to-person identification of the individual versus the mail-in variety that, as you said, can be manipulated. So we're looking at that, but we believe in the identification of the voter.
I think just common sense would tell you that it's massive manipulation can take place. Massive. And you have cases of fraudulent ballots where they actually print them and they give them to people to sign. Maybe the same person signs them with different writing, different pens. I don't know. There's a lot of things can happen. No, if you can, you should go and vote. Voting is an honor. It shouldn't be something where they send you a pile of stuff and you send it back. Another thing that happens, a lot of people in certain districts, this is historically, a lot of people in certain districts don't ever get their ballot. They keep calling, where's my vote? Where's my ballot? then election day passes and they forget about it. And that can happen in the thousands. I'm not saying it does, but it can, it probably has.
Just to
Okay.
follow up on that, sir, are you concerned about the